all.
There we go. All right, we'll begin. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Begin by welcoming everybody to the February regular meeting of the Newfield Township Planning Commission. We'll begin with roll call. Mr. Robertson.
Here.
Ms. Hopkins.
Here.
Mr. Ferris.
Here.
Mr. Rosema appears to be absent. Mr. Jansma is here. We are at, oh, come on, Ben. We are at 4 out of 5. Quorum is established. We can begin. I'll entertain now a motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Hopkins, supported by Robertson to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. 4-0. I will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the January 9, 2024 organizational meeting as presented.
Motion. I'll support.
Motion by Robertson, supported by Ferris, to approve the minutes of the January 9th, 2024 organizational meeting as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. 4-0. Did anyone receive any communications or correspondence apart from one? We received an email this morning from Mr. Draper, insinuating that this evening's meeting is in violation of the Open Meetings Act because it was not properly posted. That is categorically false. The meeting schedule was posted in December in the bulletin board outside, as is required under the Open Meetings Act. It was supposed to be posted on the township's website, but WordPress had a freak out about it and chose not to update it, and that is my error for not catching it. It has since been updated, but we are in compliance with the Open Meetings Act because it was posted. The proper notice has been given. He went on to say other things that I will not repeat because I don't want to. Copies are available. The entire commission received a copy. The board has received copies. All right, moving on. Under new business, I have master plan discussion with Mr. Kiesler.
Well, hello, everybody.
Hi.
And good to see you all again. Tonight, we're going to work over the goals and objectives for the master plan. And I have copies for all of you if you want to take one and pass it down. And then I have extra copies. I don't know. We'll leave that up to you guys to decide, but we can. I do have extra copies for anybody who might want one until they run out. So the goals and objectives in master plan, you're kind of writing about the existing conditions, the demographics, the housing, where people work, what people do, and then you kind of get into the future land use of the township. And that's where these start to come in. So I've kind of broken these up into some categories. We have agriculture, housing, transportation, utilities, economic development, parks and community resources, and relationships. These are mostly models that we've used in other rural places. So as we're going through them, there are going to be some that make sense for here. There are going to be some that you guys are going to say, no, we'll cut that one. And then there are going to be some where you might say that's a great idea, but we'll do that in the next master plan period, not this one. So yeah. Let's go through, see what we have. And again, so for agriculture, for example, a lot of these are like protecting farmland, doing farmland preservation, that kind of thing. There is a lot of farmland here, but I get the feeling that it's more like a rural open space kind of a place rather than hardcore farms. You guys,
Our lots are used more for for farms that are not in the township. Norris is the next township, or in Denver Township. Norris Dairy Farm has a lot of spots. Silver Sky Dairy I think that's still Denver Township, also has a lot of parcels out here. Beatty's, which is in Greenwood Township, has a lot of parcels up here. So not a lot of actual farming here. It's just using the land to grow crops.
okay. So yeah, I mean, that might be something that as we're working through this first one, we may not want to be preserving farmland as much as preserving the rural character or preserving open space and natural areas. But we can get into it. So, it's a little intro at the top. During the 2023 master plan, which we're going to need to change that to 2024 now. During the 2023 master plan update, Newfield Township residents and stakeholders shared their visions for the future of the township. Newfield Township residents see themselves as a rural, family-oriented community that strives to manage growth with proper supporting infrastructure within a framework of a vibrant agricultural base in a small town feel. Community's values expressed through various community input processes were the basis for the goals and objectives that were chosen. And the community goals and objectives are aspirational descriptions of what the community would like itself to be in the future. Goals are intended to provide a basic framework upon which long-term development decisions may be made, as well as day-to-day decisions made by public and private entities. Objectives describe the specific actions that must be taken to work towards achieving the goals. So goal number one would be for agriculture, maintain and implement the Newfield Township Farmland Preservation Policy, which is to preserve prime, unique, and valuable agricultural land in Newfield Township for present and future generations. How do people see that goal? The way it's worded, are we trying to protect prime or unique or valuable farmland here?
I would say so.
I would think that we would, yes, because it does bring in.
All right. Objective one would be to study and implement purchase of development rights or transfer of development rights ordinances, or participate in a regional, which makes sense, or countywide efforts to implement those programs. So if farmers are not in the township specifically, maybe it is a regional or countywide effort. Does everybody know how purchase of development rights or transfer of development rights work?
Mm.
So this is it's a zoning tool that communities can use, and the prime example is like Traverse City Cherry Farms. These people could sell their land like that for $5 million, and it could be turned into houses, and it's never going to be a farm again, and they know that. So they have cashed out that value today, and they basically sold their development rights. It can't become anything but a farm, but they get their money out of it, and it stays farmland in forever. Kent County is kind of doing this right now. Actually, they just announced, there's a story in the news over the weekend where up in Sparta Township, they did the same thing. They did I think it was a purchase of development rights. So Kent County, you can imagine, Grand Rapids is growing like crazy, and they're wanting to make sure that they do have some very prime farmland up in like Alpine Township, which is Rockford area, and they want to protect that so that it's not gone. But so these are tools that you guys could use where farmers are able to, they're able to cash out the value of their land but then it stays as farmland forever, whatever, long term. So yeah, we can talk more about that, but it is the objective in here is just to study and implement it, or participate in regional countywide efforts. Objective 2, analyze current lot splits and sizes. That I'm sure this gentleman over here has a major handle on. But we're finding, so people are saying, we want to be able to sell our farm, our 40 acres, and retire to Florida. And this housing developer is coming in and they want to buy it. And so what townships are doing in rural areas, sometimes they're saying, okay, fine, we'll make large lot size the minimum. And that way we won't have our farmland chunked up into houses. Well, people still, now they're just, buying 10-acre lots and putting 10-acre homes on 10-acre lots. 5 acres in the front, they're mowing and taking care of. What happens to the 5 in the back? Anybody? A lot of times it just grows wild, or becomes where you put your old equipment or something. But it's not necessarily saving farmland. It may be saving a large lot residential, but there may be other ways that people can.
Jeff, we did address that a little bit a few years ago. That was a concern of the planning commission. I know, I think Wayne was involved in that, where we actually reduced our lot size in our AR1 residential zone to 2 acres. The idea being that by creating a smaller split for farmland specifically, again, as Michael pointed out, you have a consolidation in the farm industry. Farms are bigger and bigger and bigger and fewer. One example is Norris Farms you brought up. They have a big acreage just north of here that had the old farmhouse, the original farm and barn. And if you had a large split, it would take too much out of farming. By reducing that to 2 acres, it basically just encompasses the house and the barns. They split that off. Now you put a house that was vacant back into a residency, so you increased your housing stock. And you preserve most of that as farmland.
I've seen that where they've done along major rural roads where they would do on the fronts, and then the farm land was in the backside.
So we did that. It does also for your what's the word I'm looking for your woodlands. It's the same thing. By having smaller lots, you keep more as woods. Instead of having, like you said, a 5-acre, lawn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So objective 3, advocate links between local farm products and local consumers. This is the kind of farm stand, farm market idea, being able to sell the products that you grow here. And a couple of sub-points to publicize farm markets on the township social media, and allow farm markets and farm stands in the township by zone. That would be our recommendation. That was one of the first things Steve, I think if I remember right, mentioned to me about working up here, that he wanted to allow some more things like event farms. And so those what would typically be an agricultural venue, being able to use those for commercial uses. Objective 4, apply Regis or GIS to increase understanding of the Newfield Township. Any land studies, PA 116 maps, which is prime farmland, soils and topography. And this will be stuff that we will be working on for the master plan, making these maps. Objective 5, continue to monitor local farmer priorities and concerns. So maybe every once in a blue moon, have the farmers in and, see what they need and ask them what their needs are, how you guys could work with them better. We have here survey the farming community, hold discussion meetings with farmers, and also review the Newfield Township farmland preservation policy and zoning ordinances. Monitor state of Michigan farmland legislation and support and implement when appropriate. Are you guys in the Michigan Township Association?
Yes.
Okay. And yeah, support the Michigan Right to Farm Act. Buffer working farms from residential developments. Update your ordinance standards when appropriate for open space and buffers to protect farmland and, to be honest, to protect the homeowners. Preserve open space in clustered housing developments adjacent to active farmland. So you mentioned this, but this is that idea of the houses up front and open space or farmland behind or some combination of. People typically in the past have built a suburban development where they come in, they clear every living thing off of it, and then they put in houses, and then you put in your shrubs and trees to put stuff back in. The more recent trend is to kind of leave open space areas. So you might make a design that it's not square and linear, it's curvilinear, and there'll be open space here and open space there. That's that cluster development. It tightens the lots a little bit, but then leaves open space in the development. Okay. Study the permitted density of development parcels adjacent to master planned agricultural areas. Steve just talked about this. You guys have already done that. We can make that objective to continue to look at. So maybe every year or 2 years or whatever. And you guys may find that you want to raise it at some point. You may find that you say, development pattern isn't going the way we want it to. We need to make 5 acre minimums or something. So yeah, just revisiting that, over time is a good idea. Analyze and update permitted and special uses in the agricultural zoning district to allow increased economic use of farmland and farm buildings. This is that I have a barn. I want to host, weddings in here, right there. We need to, and we'll help you guys do that, but we need to work those kind of things into the zoning ordinance as permitted uses. And then research potential for a Newfield Township private land trust and rural land foundation. Do you guys have that?
Mm.
It may be something for you to look into. Being that most of the farmers are not township residents, maybe not. Maybe that's not. All right. I can kind of just cruise through these, and then what I'd like to do is give you guys a week or something, and let you kind of take them home and cross things out and write different stuff in and get them back to me, and then we can kind of come up with a final list. But if anybody has any that jump out to them where they're like, oh my gosh, we don't need that here.
Right.
Just speak up. All right, housing plan for safe, creative, and desirable residential neighborhoods that are suitable for people of varying ages, lifestyles, and incomes. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Objective 1, analyze present and future housing needs based on census data and best available demographic analysis and projections we're kind of still doing this, but we've taken a look at some of this kind of stuff, and so we will be during the master plan process. We'll be able to identify those housing needs. Objective 2, plan for traditional subdivision densities and attached housing units only where public utilities are available or can be reasonably extended. So you don't want to get too dense on the sewers. You all know that very well. Objective 3, encourage the creative development of new residential areas when and where appropriate through the use of planned unit developments. How does that sound to you guys? Love it or hate it?
I've been able to do some more research on planned unit developments, doing the citizen planner course from Michigan State University.
Yeah.
That sounds very attractive. Because you have a lot of flexibility in what you can have, and you can pretty much down to the letter decide this is in, this is out, this is in, this is out.
You can. You all can. Yep. Yeah, you would have that ability. Okay. And the other nice thing about it is you get to do a little more creative stuff. Okay, cool. So with that in mind, adopt ordinance standards for sidewalks, trails, linked and usable open spaces, and natural feature preservation. That's again kind of what I was talking about in the new suburban developments. They typically incorporate a little bit of open space, and even sometimes there will be like a swing set in the middle, like shared park, kind of not really a park, but sort of. Adopt ordinances which allow flexibility regarding lot size and area, building setbacks and design, and dwelling unit types within a single unified development. This relates to PUDs. We're not suggesting you guys, retweak all of your setbacks and lot size, but this just relates to PUD. Ensure that PUD ordinances apply to a range of housing densities, not just traditional subdivisions. We are working on one in Hart that was started in 2000. Actually, it was started in the 90s. They built exactly 4 housing units in there.
Duplexes?
A duplex or 2.
Yes, I know.
A single family or 2.
And they gave them the sun, the moon, and the stars.
Yeah.
And then the developer walked away. Mr. Gibson was the
And it's been, these people live in basically, almost like a state park or something, But we are working with Hart to build that out because they wanna create, they wanna finish it out like it was planned to be finished out. But the developer's gone, the plans are now ancient, the homes that they built look like the early 2000s or the 90s. So we're gonna do a PUD there. And there's gonna be some apartment buildings, some single family homes, and stuff like that. That's kind of what we're trying to do. Protect existing and future residential areas from any unwanted negative effects nearby non-residential uses through instilling berms, landscaping, greater setbacks, natural feature preservation, while still allowing pedestrian and vehicle connections to nearby schools, parks, shopping, and employment opportunities via road, trail, and sidewalks. How does that one sound? So basically, when you have a residential area and somebody's doing something like farming, industry, gas station, whatever is nearby or next to it, you want to be able to put some landscaping requirements around that to make it nice for the homeowner. We can kind of cut down and reword that. That's shooting for the moon on that one. So we can kind of reword that. Objective 5, allow, right? Just allow for senior housing developments and related medical care facilities in close proximity to shopping, houses of worship, parks, medical offices, sidewalks, and public transit in a variety of zoning districts. So this isn't saying that, you know, you have to encourage it or anything like that, but just allow for that kind of stuff to take place in those zoning districts, basically around this area. Adopt zoning ordinance regulations to allow for senior housing and related medical care facilities in residential, office, and commercial zoning districts by special land use. Survey seniors for input and ideas. Implement policies or programs that allow residents to age in place. Example would be increased non-motorized transportation connections. 6, maintain values of existing single-family and multiple family homes in neighborhoods. Continue to enforce property maintenance code and other applicable township ordinances. Demolish abandoned, dilapidated, or unsafe homes. Do you guys ever do that, Steve? Nope. If somebody has a fire, maybe that kind of thing or something, but probably no. Okay. That might be one that we would take out because it would cost you guys money, big money to do that, right?
Yeah, we do participate in the Michigan Fire, I can't think of the thing. It's the fire insurance program
Okay.
where when there's a fire and the house burns down, part of the money from their insurance is put into escrow. If they do not rebuild or start the rebuilding or have cleaned up, that money, that escrow money goes to us for us to have it cleaned up.
Okay. So it's not a
Hazard. Exactly.
Okay.
You know, the idea is that you're not going to have
So-
a burned out house
Just said.
sitting around.
Right. This one, that we may want to circle that one as something to take out. Because, again, that particular line might be more for a city, where they have a capital budget for that kind of stuff, literally, you know. So we may want to take that one out, and who knows, maybe if you guys think of another one, we can replace it. If not, we won't have to. So, objective 7, pay close attention to this one because you guys have noticed I did this in all of the goal areas that we could. Explore options for applying for Michigan State Housing Development Authority grants to enhance Newfield Township's housing offerings. So I was told that if you put this in your master plan, that then you can do that.
I think we heard the same thing.
Yep.
No. Having dealt with MISTA for 15 years, they will not finance anything that does not have sewer and water.
Okay.
Sewer and water.
Okay.
So unless you could do a mission project on the south end by the Maple Island corridor.
Okay.
If you did a 425 agreement or some sort of operating agreement with the village, because that's the only place where you can extend your sewer and water, which is why we moved our cluster housing
Out there.
that way.
Gotcha.
Because otherwise you have something called the White River that kind of knocks everything out of the park in terms of bringing water and sewer. Can be done, but it's just the cost is astronomical. But yeah, Mr. You could replace that though with USDA rural development.
Okay.
Add
USDA
it.
rural development will finance projects that are in truly rural areas.
Awesome.
That's why they're called rural development. And even so far as small scale point of use type of systems.
Okay.
For example, we have heavy development around our lakes.
Yes.
There could be issues with lakes when you have too much development with nutrient loading of the lakes, people's septics and stuff aren't working well. You could, in theory, do a combined system for the lake area, and the USDA could finance, if not all, part of that. So that'd be an example of something that
Awesome.
can be done with that. There's great things that Vista is an urban focused agency.
Yeah.
Their funds come from HUD, which is called Housing and
Urban
Urban Development. Urban is right there.
That's good.
That's a good one to add, yeah.
Good info. Okay.
But I mean, there's nothing wrong with changing that to USDA.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, I'd just add it. Why kneecap yourself if you have the ability?
Okay.
Just me.
Yep. All right. Moving on to transportation. Maintain a plan for a safe, efficient, and functional transportation system for all users, both motorized and non-motorized. Objective 1, consider creating an M20 corridor plan with Hesperia and Denver Township. Research similar community plans as reference materials. Partner with MDOT and Oceana County Road Commission to help enact and enforce the plan. Require traffic and tech studies for new development projects. Again, this may or may not, circle that one and think about it. You guys may not want that yet. That's a little more of a suburban urban thing. Periodically update access management link in zoning ordinance, including maps. Objective 2, plan for future public streets that disperse traffic densities, is what it should say, and provide alternative travel routes to improve traffic flow on major routes in the township. You guys have congestion? I mean, are there places where you guys get too dense, where it's
In the village,
okay.
we'll have a couple issues. When I was driving school bus, we'd have an issue where I'm following a manure hauler, and a manure hauler is coming in the other direction, and there's nowhere for me to go except sit behind the manure hauler,
Yeah.
which gross. So I mean, apart from those, that's pretty much the bulk of our traffic.
Steve, do you have any, what do you think, is this one to take out?
It's not an issue here. I mean, if you wanted to, I don't see that in here. But what is kind of, to what Michael was saying, which I think is important. Again, when we go back to these larger farms, it used to be, I can remember because I'm an old man, when manure haulers were little things, kind of like wagons. And now they have these huge tanks. They're probably some of them over 200,000 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
And they tear up. Not only are they unpleasant to be behind,
A lot of the ones I see are 8,000 gallon tanks.
Yeah.
And a gallon of water weighs 8 pounds, manure weighs 12.
Yeah, so you've got 96,000 pounds right there,
Plus the equipment.
the weight of the equipment. Anyways,
I was gonna say, you wait. No.
but anyways, in addition to
Helps to have farmer friends.
in addition to the stinky and unpleasant aspect of that, what is problematic is how they tear up the roads.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, I know with right to farm and certain other things, it is difficult to restrict. I know our previous supervisor, had actually an argument with one of the farmers. He literally watched the guy come off of the field and just eat the shoulder up. And when yeah, we stopped him. This guy said, "Screw you, sue me." Basically, was his attitude, and not cool, because we have to pay to fix those things.
Gotta work together here.
So either, I think what might be suitable in lieu of some of this is researching, is there a way to route large, heavy agricultural equipment in a manner to minimize damage to the roads and inconvenience to.
I had that conversation with the head mechanic over at Norris's, and he said, good luck. Because I asked him, I said, how do you get around the frost laws? He said, we just don't fill the trucks all the way. It means we run more trucks, but we're not filling them all the way. But it's underweight.
That's the trucks.
The trucks.
The wagons with the tractors.
Wagons and tractors are exempt.
Yep. So they
But
can-
if they're taking trucks that are carrying the tanks, they only fill them about halfway, he said.
Yeah, we could definitely check into a goal, about making a truck route and take a look at where that might fit in. I think that's a good idea. And then in the future, you could reinforce that road for heavier weight, and then you actually, you really have that truck route. The people that live on that road are gonna hate you all out. Just. All right, plan for future paved shoulder bike lanes and bike paths along major roads in the township. Talked about this a lot, but it's kind of up to you guys to see if this is something you want to tackle in this master planning period. I had a sub goal of a sub objective to make non-motorized connections from residential areas and activity centers to downtown Hesperia. That would be, if you could get there in the next 10 years or something, that would be awesome. Even just, talking about it or planning it. Require new construction, residential, office, commercial, and industrial to include public street improvements, sidewalks, trails, and public transit system components on approved site plans. It's probably more of a suburban and city one, and we can probably take this one out.
I would agree.
But you may
To a
want-
point, yeah.
the sidewalk improvements and stuff is something that possibly, but objective 5, develop a township-wide non-motorized transportation plan and seek ways to adapt for future needs. That would be like continue to develop the township's non-motorized transportation plan, develop zoning regulations to implement master plan, future non-motorized transportation facilities, things that we've talked about in the master plan. Just creating zoning regulations so that they can happen. Identify areas of the township and have pedestrian infrastructure in place. Outside of Hesperia, you guys have sidewalks west of Hesperia?
Don't even have sidewalks in all the village.
What's
They
that?
don't even have sidewalks in all of the village.
Yeah, I know.
Most of the village.
Most, but not, yeah. At least on the main roads.
Even on half of, Cable Island.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so sidewalks are probably a little too forward thinking for this period. But maybe dreaming of bike trails or
Mhm.
something is not, or at least checking into it.
Multi-purpose pathway.
Yeah.
My grandma lives a stone's throw from the non-motorized path in Ada, Forest Hills, and all that. That's where I learned how to ride a bike. So I mean, it's one of those. I mean, it's continuing to expand. I drove by
Yeah.
another spot where they were putting more in to go into the village of Ada,
No kidding.
around another block or 6 or
You
whatever.
have some areas that are denser, that are closer in, like Brentmore,
Mhm.
having some way to connect from Brentmore into town, for non-motorized, for bikes, even walking people.
Yep.
That might not be unreasonable. Same thing, Riverview,
Mhm.
which is a higher density, especially, the south end to Hawley is a little higher density area. You already have a walkway on the bridge on Wally.
Mhm.
There's
There's sidewalk there.
Sidewalk on each side, I think, so.
Yeah.
You know, you can.
Well, I thought they put that in there so I could drive my lawnmower across the bridge.
There you go.
I guess you walk out too. Anyway,
All right. I'm gonna take out identify gaps in the pedestrian infrastructure. We're not there yet. Okay. And we could probably leave in the third one, identify areas that have pedestrian gaps. You think, or take that one out too? Identify areas of the township that have pedestrian infrastructure in place.
It can go.
Okay.
I mean, pretty much the only place that there is that's actually the townships to worry about is the walking path at Oxbow and then that little bit on the bridge. There's nothing else, unless I'm missing something.
We could say identify areas of the township where pedestrian infrastructure could be beneficial or.
I like that.
Okay. Objective 6, design new streets to allow for the most efficient and least expensive extension of infrastructure. Require new public or private local streets to stub in developable directions where appropriate. The terminus of the stub shall be legally reserved for the future street extension. Is this something that you guys would want to do? And if you don't know what the heck a stub is, let me know. But basically, I'm building my residential development. There's a field next to me. It's probably going to be a residential development someday. You guys are going to require me to put in a stub so that when the next development comes in, the road's already connected. You don't have a drive around to get to your neighbor's house. Could be more than you need right now, right? I mean, you're not having a lot of demand for big clusters, suburban developments. Take it out.
I think at this point we can.
Okay. All right. We'll take this number 6. I'm gonna remove number 6. Where planned for and contextually appropriate, provide for complete streets that emphasize safe, attractive, and comfortable access and travel to all users of the roadway. What do you think about this one?
I'm just reading ahead in the two little
The
subtasks.
subtask.
Yeah.
I don't think we're ready.
Okay.
Complete streets and access. We're not ready for the sub items, but it's nice to have, for safe, attractive, and comfortable access and travel for all users.
Sure. Okay.
I just don't think we're remotely ready for the two.
I'm with you on that. Okay, I like that though. You can just leave the top goal in. Explore options for applying for Michigan Department of Transportation grants to enhance Newfield Township's transportation options. Again, I worked with the City of St. John's last year. They doing a Parks and Rec application, and one of the questions was, where is this project mentioned in your master plan? Is this a goal of your master plan? Now, if you guys knew you were going to be working on a park in the next 5 years, right? And we were talking about it in the master plan. That would be, we might dress that up a little bit more, make a whole section on that, and then you'd have more bite. But yeah, even just having this goal in here, it says that you guys are looking toward this stuff. You want to enhance your roads, you want to make them better, and you're going to try to look into grant possibilities. Utilities, maintain and plan for efficient, functional, and fiscally sound utility systems. Objective 1, explore options for conducting a municipal well feasibility study. Explore options for installing a municipal well for township residents. Explore options for partnering with neighboring townships regarding a public water system. Continue to partner with the Oceana County Drain Commission office regarding drainage issues. Monitor high-speed internet access availability and examine infrastructure improvements. Internet speeds are not a problem, right?
They're getting better.
Yeah.
They're getting better. If you are able to connect to the Great Lakes Energy TrueStream, you're in business.
Okay.
Point Broadband is another one. They were Casair and West Michigan Broadband. They came together to form one company. They're starting to branch out to consumers energy customers that aren't served by TrueStream with Great Lakes Energy. Because in order to get TrueStream at this point, you need to be a Great Lakes Energy subscriber. So yeah, because it's the
Same company.
Great Lakes Energy, the power company.
And they drive
A long time ago, they put out the feelers on what people wanted. I think I was still in school, so a long time ago they said, "What do you want? How would you, if we were to do this, how would you like it?" And everyone said fiber because fiber is the absolute cream of the crop.
Yeah.
But they said, okay, well, since our members, with their energy bills are helping to finance this project, they get first crack at it. So now another company's coming in and filling in all the other spots that aren't filled. NCATS is still doing good with their wireless for people who don't need to have always on service, like especially around lakes. That's a really good one because they've got a $5 a month plan for like your alarm system or your cameras or whatever where you're not using it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And cell phones are getting there.
Okay.
The Verizon tower in Denver Township doesn't quite reach the whole township.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite reach the whole township. AT&T is okay, but once the trees leaf out, it pretty much goes away.
What? Okay. Well, maybe this is one we could take out. I mean, if you.
There's still room to expand on, but I don't know how to word it to kind of encompass, if we can word it to encompass cell phones.
Yep.
If you have a consistent internet connection, you can use Wi-Fi calling, but sometimes you don't. The power goes out and you're left with nothing. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
Even on the landline, same deal.
Yep.
Power goes out.
Even on most of your landlines now, especially if you subscribe to voice through TrueStream, it runs through fiber and still needs to have power, whereas traditional landline doesn't. It powers itself.
Okay.
It may be that really all that's needed out of number 4 is 5 and 6. And even 6 can be probably
Combined
a little bit.
Yep. I hear you.
Again, the water and sewer infrastructure. The only places there's anything close to being feasible would be pointing use at your lakes or maybe along the river. Something like that, where you have high enough density and you have issues with.
I'd still leave it in just for that. We can still look at it. We're not obligated to do anything.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah.
Just
5
that,
and 6.
number 6, where it says explore.
Yeah.
That's probably reasonable. I mean, we're not,
Mm-hmm.
even in those cases, it would be an assist to homeowners, basically.
Yep.
It would have to be the township, I would see providing sewer and water service.
No.
Right.
So,
Probably not.
Yep.
Not today. Maybe someday though.
Everybody on the river got a point well. Well, Beaver Way went on in the 1960s. And every
Water in's not the problem. It's water out
Really?
that's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Economic development. Encourage dynamic commercial and industrial districts. Use the zoning ordinance to left. Nancy?
No, we've talked about this for how many?
Yep.
For the 12 years, almost 12 years I've been on here, that's our idea is to get some kind of. We
Yes.
get excited when somebody questions, like when the sawmill guy came in and,
Mhm.
just different things, and, coming in, asking about it. It'd be nice to have a couple come in.
Yes. I was here this night this summer.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Use the zoning ordinance to allow for and regulate creative rural commercial offerings like farm markets, farm stands, event farms, and others. This is where we could get into, do I get into that? This is, it's also, we talked about this a couple times, but recreation, commercial recreation too. So I doubt the zoning ordinance prohibits somebody from running a canoe rental, for example. But we just want to take a look and make sure that people could do those things, rent ATVs or bikes or whatever, if they wanted to. Clearing the way so that people can make their business. Objective 2, connect business and industrial areas with various forms of transportation, including sidewalks, paved shoulder, bicycle lanes, and paths. Designate small-scale commercial land uses as hamlet commercial nodes that allow for commercial uses near clusters of residential properties serving nearby residents. So we've been kind of finding this in rural areas. There will be, fields or forests, and then all of a sudden you have 20 houses within, at a crossroads, let's say, and they're all within, a half mile of each other or something. In those areas, at that crossroads, if you designated some area as hamlet commercial, it's not downtown, it's not Walmart, it's not even Dollar General, but convenience store like the Maple Island,
Grocery.
Yeah, something like that out in those cluster areas so that people aren't driving, all the way into town to get milk. They can just go down the road. Or like the picture of the farm market. I mean, that's 10 out of 10 if you can get one of those in a hamlet commercial area. That'd be perfect. But that's something for you guys to think about. We could identify a couple areas, put them on the map, and put little circles around them. Again, it's almost definitely going to be where 2 roads come together, and there's 5 houses here, 5 here, 5 here, 5 here, and if you put a little convenience store in the middle, they all might be able to use it, or something like that. Think about it, and let me know what you think. Periodically review and update commercial and industrial zoning ordinance to meet the needs of local business owners. Sure, you guys are doing that, but it's good to just put in there to continue to do. Encourage commercial and industrial development east of US 31 in areas where public water and sanitary sewer are available or can reasonably be extended. Promote the redevelopment, rehabilitation, and adaptive reuse of existing commercial industrial sites and buildings. So this one, I know you guys don't have control over downtown Hesperia, but let's say I wanted to put, something that was just a little bit different kind of a use in a downtown building and it's sitting empty. Allow that to happen if you can, when you can. Adaptive reuses of existing places are good things. Explore options for applying for NEDC grants to enhance Newfield Township's commercial offerings. All right, two more sections. Parks and community, maintain and expand natural, recreational, and cultural resource assets. Map natural features using historical sites using GIS. We're working on that, so we'll be doing that for you. Periodically review and update the Newfield Township Community Recreation Plan. Develop a future plan for Oxbow Park that includes trails, activities, and services. Seek parkland acquisition within master plan enhancement areas. I think we talked about an area straight south in the township or something where there was some land that could be.
Oh, yeah, the DNR boat launch.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yep. We could mention that specifically. Should I?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys don't want to get too much parkland. Then you gotta mow it and pay for it. But yeah, adding a DNR boat launch. Encourage developers to provide parks, open space in standard non-PUD subdivisions in addition to PUD subdivisions. Again, it's that cluster development where you leave open space and it functions like a park. Continue to maintain and update township parks with new recreation equipment and facilities. Create gateway treatments, identifying the township at key entrance location. I put this one in there just because I like gateways, but yeah, it's something that you guys could think about doing, like branding or gateway over the road that has welcome to Newfield Township. Probably not your thing, but I'm a gateway person. So
I do. I mean the welcome to Newfield Township, a zone community. A lot of those disappeared. I'm not sure where the fancy ones went. Now they've just got like along M20. It's the MDOT standard ones that say Newfield Township. And then there's another one up on 192nd that says Newfield Township zoned. So I'd like to see nicer, like Shelby Townships. Theirs are beautiful.
yeah,
It's got, it's all ornate and it has their logo on it and everything. It looks really nice. It'd be nice, something for us to do.
I could reword this something like a monument sign or welcome sign or something. Good. So objective H. That's a read. Yeah, we have an objective 5. We're encouraging developers to provide open space. Objective 8 is
Does the same thing.
Same thing. So I'm gonna cross that one out. Do you guys have a natural features inventory? Probably not,
No.
right? You don't have okay. And you don't require people to do that as part of their site plans, either like where are wetlands, where are.
I mean, we don't, but the DNR and Eagle will have their say about wetlands.
What we do, Jeff, is on our zoning permits, there's a spot where we check off that folks call the drain commissioner.
Okay.
To make sure that they're not dealing with the wetland issue.
Yeah.
Or if they do need to call Eagle or the DNR, as opposed to us doing that. Number one, because the drain commissioner is one that has the authority to require, silt fencing or whatever. They have the engineer on staff to look at things like that. And I just happen to mention to folks that if you don't do stuff like that, you could get busted and face a very heavy fine and costs and all that.
All the soil that involved in.
All that, we had someone on one of those smaller lakes. They bought a lot. They spent a whole bunch of money to fill in this wetland because that's all that the lot was wetland. And one of the neighbors, of course, was not happy about that, so they called the Eagle, and Eagle came out and said, "Where's your permit, dude?" And he didn't have one. $10,000 fine, and then about $15,000 to restore the wetland later. They have a lot that they can't even give away. I mean, people call me probably every couple months about, hey, I saw this great deal on this lot, you know?
I'm just
I'm doing a lake, you know, it's like, yeah, there's a reason.
There's a reason.
Yeah, there's not even room to, you can't even
I'm
park.
in a little lake and I go, oh, what's the address?
Yeah, no, it's, yeah, I mean, it's, but anyways, yeah, that was a, probably if we figured it out altogether, it was probably a $30,000 mistake.
How about I change this goal to something like require site plan approvals, to seek approvals from authorities and then the Drain Commission. That's what you want to make sure that they're getting authority.
That they have their ducks in a row before they even, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's,
Where they buy property.
Yeah.
Decided they're gonna buy that,
and that's why we
and they don't have enough
do
funds
that.
to.
And it's more informal.
Mhm.
Jeff, I mean, things are informal here.
True.
We have a drain commissioner who's from the area, Michelle, you know. And Mary knows her kind of a little bit.
Strict.
But she's also very easy to work with. I mean,
She's approachable.
I've never had anyone complain.
Yeah.
Seriously about working with her. She's worked with you for a certain reason, Harry, but, yeah, and so it
You got Jeff puzzled, you might want to explain.
It's my mom.
Going back.
Yeah.
I wonder.
I don't break any rules, she would never allow it.
Okay. Relationships, last one, I think. Last one?
Yep.
Maintain and expand regional and intergovernmental cooperation and relationships. I think you guys are already doing this like every day, pretty much, right? I mean, the county line's right there, the village is right there, but let's take a look at these. So seek ways to connect Newfield Township residents with their township representatives using social events and social media.
Mhm.
You do that.
That's me.
Seek ways to build relationships between township residents and the police, fire, and EMS employees in the township. By having a come visit the fire truck day and
The fire authority does have their open house. I mean, they have a open house in the fall. Yeah, that they do. There's all kinds of opportunities for us to get involved on stuff too. So
awesome. Examine additional ways to partner with Village of Hesperia and Denver Township regarding traffic on the M20 corridor, public water and sewer systems, and other land use issues. Continue to develop regional relationships with Oceana County, Village of Hesperia, City of Fremont, Denver Township, and others for public infrastructure needs and services. Participate in West Michigan-based regional economic development initiatives. Develop relationships with state and regional entities to identify environmental contamination and develop remediation strategies. Continue to partner with Oceana County Drain Commission and the Road Commission, and then the Michigan Township Association. So that is what I have, but my thought is if you look at these, I kind of put in somewhere around usually about 7 or 8 goals. I think 4 to 5 for each category might be ideal. So I'm putting in more information than we need so that we can whittle it down to exactly what we need. I don't know, I'm trying to think here, what the best way to get the comments.
I was thinking everybody has their comments. They can either drop off their marked up copy to me and I can scan and send, or you can just send me you can just shoot me an
Notes.
email with your notes. If you drop it off, just make sure you leave it with Nancy, Joan, Amanda, whoever's here, and make sure it gets put into my mailbox so I can come and collect them.
Okay. Yep, and then I'll make any edits and I'll send them back to you guys. And we can get final goals and objectives.
All right.
It'll be fantastic. Yeah, there's gonna be some things in there that are more fancy than you guys wanna do. There's gonna be some things in there that are probably more suburban than you guys wanna do. Totally fine, just, or if you wanna tweak it to say something specific, put that in. So, yeah.
Okay.
And then quickly, if I can,
Yeah.
I'll just kind of give you guys where we're at in the process, but, goals and objectives, and then future land use is next. So, we're gonna take basically these ideas and put them on a map. We're gonna hopefully identify some areas that we wanna preserve, which is gonna be pretty darn easy in this township. Areas that we wanna enhance, so we don't wanna change it completely, but maybe we wanna add, landscaping, or we wanna add some sidewalks, so that's an enhancement. It's not the welcome sign, an enhancement, right? And then areas where you may wanna allow growth. So if a developer comes to you guys and says, hey, I'm thinking about coming into town and dropping some money. Do you have any areas where I can? You do. You have areas where you are planning for growth. And those are gonna be very small, and there's not gonna be a lot, and we're gonna try to fit them in around the village. But I think that's kind of how we're gonna approach that. And then
The lakes.
And the lakes. Yeah. How could we forget the lakes? We do need the map data from the county, and we can still make maps for the project, but
That would be
they're not gonna be as nice. With the GIS data, we can make them look so awesome, and you can look and see parcels and, so yeah, I mean, we can move forward and just, we can use maps on the web, but the GIS ones are awesome.
Are we having an issue with that?
The last conversation I had with the assessor, she had not gotten the updated files. And then it got right into needing to have everything prepared for tax season, and now things are slowing. And then
The issue is, the maps actually come from the equalization office.
Okay.
The equalization office contracted with a company to do the work. The company, I guess, has not done the work, or maybe the equalization department didn't pay the company for the work, but one way or another, equalization did not get the product.
Okay.
Yeah, even though they got our money.
Even if
And
they have the data.
and as a result, our assessor can't get the
can't get
maps
the apps.
to turn over to us.
Okay.
So it's at the county level where the problem is.
Okay.
And we're kind of stuck because we can't call the company direct because they say Newfield who?
Yeah, we don't work for you.
Okay.
So,
All right. We can look into this a little more.
Well, we still have time to possibly get it to, but rather.
Yes, we do.
I
We
would
have
rather it be that style of a map than.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah, the best it can be.
absolutely.
And if we've already paid for the product,
Already paid for our share.
then I would prefer that we,
Yeah, it really makes a big difference because again, like you said, you're looking at things like talking about development areas.
Yep.
Talking about, what you should call it, Hamlet commercial.
Yep.
I think of Hamlet as a play by Shakespeare. but-
Yeah.
Damn, I got too much education in me, I guess, I don't know. But, anyways, without that type of data, you're it's almost like you're taking a dart and throwing it.
Well, they just won't look super duper crisp.
Well, you won't, you also don't have that information, that development information.
Right.
Because things change.
Right.
And, so,
If they have, I am not a GIS person, I'm gonna say that right now. That's what the 20-year-olds that I work with do. But if they have the data, even if the maps weren't completed, we can take the data and
run.
make the maps.
Okay.
It might be a good thing for us to run by the Ocean County MTA,
Mm-hmm.
because we're not the only county that's paid, some have.
It's probably a good one.
And so maybe, or not county, township.
Township.
We're not the only township that has paid, so this might be, and Joe could throw it out there to Richard and see.
Mm-hmm. I'd appreciate that if you guys can run up the
Because we're not
flagpole on
working
that.
on master plans right now, we know
Yep.
several
Yep.
townships around us.
Mm-hmm.
It would make a lot, it really makes a difference, and it's, you know, as long as we're putting this much effort into the project. It's silly to cut a corner there, you know, this is not a race.
Right.
You know, we want to get this right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I have. So yeah, maybe in a week or so, if you guys want to give me
Yep.
comments, I will turn that back around and.
We'll go from there. All right, perfect. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Does anyone have any quick questions?
No,
They
by
wanna get out of the
Wednesday
way?
next
Okay.
week.
If you can,
Yeah.
by Wednesday next week, I mean, it gives you. And then,
It sounds like.
Yeah,
and
I
then
got
I'll
one
turn
more.
around, I'll tell you what, I'll give you till next Thursday, because then I'll come in Friday afternoon, collect them, and send them off.
We always email on Friday anyway.
Yeah. That's when I have, that's when I have some
some
business time.
Fresh copies, just
Perfect.
in case.
Thank you.
Thanks for the feedback and thanks for.
Absolutely. All right, moving on, I have a draft copy of Planning Commission bylaws that I sent to you for your information. I did, after I had a chance to get some sleep, have a chance to go through and correct some typographical errors. So there are some differences in what you got versus what I printed off for you tonight. If you had a chance to look through it briefly, wherever it's highlighted in green is a date that we do not yet have. I did not have at hand, and this was also at 1 o'clock in the morning, a copy of the Planning Commission ordinance and when it was passed. But that will be part of the new one when it's done. The bylaws that we are currently operating on, you've also been given a copy of. They are template bylaws from the Michigan Township Association that were lightly adapted for our use, but they do not reflect the current makeup of the commission. They do not reflect everything that we would need. Part of my experience with the Citizen Planner course from Michigan State University Extension, I added section 3 of the new bylaws, which is duties of members. It includes talking about ex parte contact with people who would appear before us. That's not in our bylaws. It's more of an understood thing, but now we're actually going to codify it. It is actually going to be our rules that we will follow. Site inspections, we don't need to be, if we're going to have one of the marijuana facilities in front of us, we don't need to go and see them. They're going to come see us at their public hearing. We don't need to go out there. If we're going to go out there, we're going to go with someone else. No one's going alone. And it's written, section 3B1, site inspections shall be done by the zoning administrator, their deputy, or the marijuana enforcer when in the case of marijuana establishments permitted by the township. Written reports of such inspections shall be orally presented to the commission at a public meeting or hearing in which the site in question is under deliberation. Section 3B2, if desired, the commission shall appoint a member to accompany the person carrying out the site inspection. So if we know where they're going to be in front of us, and we said, okay, we want 2 sets of eyes to go, we can then come up to a motion of who's going to go with either Steve or Rick to that site.
I think no matter what kind of place, what.
Yep.
It's residential
Yep.
or commercial.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's. I was just using that as an example.
Yeah.
Just using it as an example.
No, I
Yep.
understand some of the characters we've been dealing with lately,
It's always better to have two sets of eyes than one.
not even.
And even
not,
it's-
Two people,
Two people.
two bodies.
Accepting gifts, we haven't had to worry about that, but it's good to have a rule on what happens if someone says, hey, I want to thank you for, approving my, no. You need to speak with the township supervisor. It says, by the township board on behalf of the planning commission. We're not going to take any of that. You want to do something, you need to speak with the township board. Just pass the buck. Conflicts of interest. We don't currently have a section on a conflict of interest. There is 2 whole modules in this training that talk about conflict of interest. And even things that you wouldn't think are a conflict of interest are a conflict of interest, or may have the appearance of a conflict of interest. So, there's a whole, section 2C is a whole conflict of interest and incompatibility. If someone is elevated to an elected position in the township board, for instance, if I were to run for township board, I could no longer be the chairman of the commission. I can sit on the commission as the board's appointed representative to the commission, but Rick already has that job and I'm going to let him keep it.
Yeah.
Let me clarify, I am not running for any elected office. I'm going to clarify that. That was just an example. Next is a spokesperson for the commission.
I just would say,
Yes.
in looking at that and having been through those same modules,
Mm-hmm.
so looking at the MTA manual, in one of the problems is most of that stuff is done for larger communities.
Yes.
And it's a little different because there's that many people or jobs or employers and all that. Where you see 1-6, issuing, deliberating on, voting on, or reviewing a case where the member's employee or employer is an applicant or agent for an applicant or has direct interest in the outcome of such decision or review. You might want to look at that a little more because you could have, and Mike, this is not to pick on you,
Yep, I get it.
but, okay, L. Daniels has a lot of property.
Mhm.
You work for him at the hardware store.
Mhm.
You have nothing to do with the properties.
Right.
But he is your employer.
Mhm.
He could come for a variance or a special use permit, for God knows what he wants to do next on his list. I don't think you have to be recused from that. I think you have to
Identify the conflict.
identify that you are an employee at his hardware store.
Mhm.
But I don't think because you do not have a direct interest in that, I think it's not truly a conflict because it's the same, it's just, you're going to have that, but again, it's such a small.
So it goes on in,
Right.
in 2C7, 8, and continuing on, that if there's a question as to whether the conflict exists, it can be waived. If the commission votes that no, there is no, there is no exclusionary conflict of interest. That is a wordsy thing that I will have to look at again.
But you allow the commission itself to, amongst ourselves, discuss whether we feel there is a conflict or not.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Like to follow Steve's example, if Al decided he wanted to, it needed to come before us for whatever reason. I would say this man that comes before us today is my employer. I am not involved in the activity that he is coming to receive a permit for. However, there is a semblance of a conflict of interest, and then we would discuss it and vote on it if there is. If we decide yes, it's a conflict of interest, then I sit out. If we decide there isn't, then I sit in. It's relatively simple, but it is. It's a rather wordsy section.
Wouldn't it just be a conflict of interest if it had something to do with the hardware, but any of his other property wouldn't have anything to do It wouldn't be a
Correct.
conflict
Correct.
because you have nothing to do with the other, but
Right.
you're, so.
Yeah. It just looks, it gives the air of, you know,
That's why it
And
has
if-
to be disclosed.
Yep.
Because it's,
Yep.
like I said, again, you have.
because I could say, no, I don't like that plan, Al, and then I get a $3 an hour pay cut, you know? So
Well,
it's, yeah,
It's a possibility, but again, it's not necessarily because it does not
Yep.
directly influence it's a separate business
Mhm.
for you. And that's gonna come up because it's, again, it's a
Yeah,
small,
small town.
it is, it's
Yep.
a small town.
So moving to 3D, 1, 2, and 3, under spokesperson for the commission. Anytime we have anything to discuss, it needs to be freely and openly in a meeting, not, you know, and of course, you know, 1 or 2 people asking for clarification on something, not a problem. As soon as we hit 3, we've got a quorum, we need to have a meeting. And then once this one is one that was hotly recommended by the additional reading from the citizen planner course, and this is section 3D2. Once a vote is taken and an issue is decided by vote, the duty of each member of the commission is to represent the position reflected by the outcome of the vote. Minority reports and requests for reconsideration may take place only at an open meeting of the commission. Basically, we are a unit. We may disagree. 2 people may disagree, 3 people may agree. And the commission, in its majority, agrees that this is a good thing. The other 2 people are able to give their minority report, but they need to at least say, this is what the commission voted. They don't need to be trying to undermine. This is what the commission voted. They are perfectly entitled, and it says minority reports and requests for reconsideration take place at an open meeting. If they wish to register their dissent, they can do so during our commissioner's discussion section. That's what it's there for. It's for us to discuss what's about to happen or what has happened. It's also part of the discussion on the vote. When I ask for a motion, get a second, I'll say any discussion. That's the time for the minority to say, well, look, here's my take on it. Another from the majority, this is my take on it, and have a free and open debate. I took a debate class in high school, and by golly, I'm going to use those skills. Under officers, pretty boilerplate, who is what, who does what the chair does, what the secretary does. The template that I drew some of this from Michigan State University also talked about a treasurer, and it talked about a vice chair. We're not big enough. And we are a committee under the board. We are not our own entity. Some of these larger cities and cooperative, planning commissions, they have. I think the example that this came from was a 21-member commission. Yeesh. You try to get 21 people in a room and they're elected. Half were elected. Greater than half were elected. The remainder were appointed as representatives of these other, like they had a representative for the DNR. They had a representative for this that were part of the commission. I go, oh, that gets unseemly. Continuing on under section 5.
Stop.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Number D, 4 officers.
Mhm.
Secretary, one thing that needs to be added is, that the secretary is required to submit any recommendations
Oh,
in
yep.
writing to the board. And it's kind of a critical function.
Yes, it is. Do I have
And how many days? Immediately before their meeting?
Yes. If we get voted on.
as soon as is practicable, I think was the wording. President, make sure that I want to make sure that I didn't put that in another section real quick. Doesn't appear that I did. Okay. So that would be 3. What is currently 3 would become 4. Transmit commission recommendations to board. Under section 5 goes on to talk about our meetings, how our meetings are called, how our meetings are run, how we handle special meetings, recesses in a meeting. Typically, when we have a meeting with a public hearing, after, especially if it's a long and drawn out public hearing, I'll ask, do we need to take a recess? Excuse me. This actually says if the meeting has been in session for 2 hours, like if we happen to have an open hearing or a public hearing that runs 2 hours, we will then say, okay, we need to stop. Do we need to take a recess or can we continue? And then how to go to recess, how to come back from a recess. If more than 18 hours pass, if we call it a recess, if we have more than 18 hours, we have to repost it for the Open Meetings Act, things of that nature. What a quorum is for 5 of us, that's 3. That's over half of the members. How motions are taken, that Robert's Rules of Order, which is the new edition, which I need to have ordered, will govern in things that these bylaws do not specifically talk about. And then public participation, we're required to have a public comment period for, under Open Meetings Act. There is 2 sections for public comment required under our bylaws. It's only 1 required under Open Meetings Act, but it is strongly recommended by the Attorney General that you have one at the beginning to discuss action items and 1 at the end for your general public comments. Hearings on site plans, how to special hearings. Section 7 talks about amending the bylaws, which, as far as I could tell, there was nothing. The bylaws may be amended at any meeting by a vote of the majority of the membership of the Planning Commission. That's not technically correct. It's the majority of the commission, regardless of absences and vacancies. So there are 5 of us. If, for instance, Mr. Roseman decides he's going to resign, the whole number of the commission for business purposes is 4, but for that purpose is 5. We would still have to have 3 votes to make an amendment because the total number of seats on the commission is 5, even though there's only 4 of us who would be able to make that vote. That's just, it's the way that we can have a supermajority without having totality. And then there's the section that was not a part, it just is adopted by the Newfield Township Planning Commission at a special meeting September 10th, 2019. That's not good enough. It needs to have a statement by the chair that on this date, at this time, these members in attendance voted this way to do this. It needs to be as explicit as possible, not just that, yeah, we did it this day. Well, who voted for it? Who voted against it? Who had, so we are not going to be enacting these tonight because we've gotten some things that needed to change. So again, same thing as with the vision and goals. If you can have a markup back to me by next Thursday, I can spend the next little bit making my edits. There were some things when I went through the citizen planner course that were missing they had several videos and several additional readings on it that said, here's why you need to have these. Here's why. Because if you don't, because the line on conflicts of interest, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. There's now a whole bunch more to very clearly and crisply delineate what is a conflict and what is not. So, does anyone have any questions? All right. So, like I said, if you could have both of these back to me by next Thursday, I'd appreciate it. Mr. Micklin, what do you have for us this month?
Okay. Alrighty. Last month was a little quiet, as one would expect, given that it's January. And, but we did do a permit.
I gave her.
Oh, I see. I see, okay. We did do one, permit last month. We did get, 6 inquiries, and again, inquiries are people who are looking to move into or locate a business within the township, as opposed to residents who are already here and looking to do an addition or whatever. Just to, although obviously we dealt with next month, but I did issue a permit for a new home this month, just last week. We have a new house going in over here on Landwehr.
Oh, yeah.
So that's pretty cool. So I'm expecting actually we're gonna have probably at least 4 to 5 houses, new homes coming in this year. Which I think is a great deal.
Mhm.
In terms of blight and public safety stuff, well, we're still waiting to deal with the ordinance issues, so we're hoping to resolve that very quickly. And then we can get back to work on that. I guess the only other thing, which it affects you, but it doesn't affect you, and you're probably learning about that shortly, if you haven't already, is your zoning board of appeals. We probably need to deal with that. And you guys can't be on that. Because they're deciding, you may be deciding a decision that you guys will make. It's kind of different, but, and that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Because Rick needs to go.
Does anyone have any questions for Steve? Well, I've got him here. All right, at this time, I'll open up for public comments. Reminder, we're going to limit our public comment period to 3 minutes per speaker. Decorum will be maintained. I will not allow you to start veering off into being defamatory, even though I'm supposed to. I will gavel you out and tell you that I think you're being out of order, but you'll be allowed to speak. Does anyone have anything to address the commission with this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on to commissioners' discussion. I just want to really quick address the email again that came in this morning from Mr. Draper. In that email was an insinuation that a member of township staff, a member of the planning department, and the commission as a whole are not, and I don't have the email able to pull up, but are not able to make a decision for the majority of the township. That we seem to be serving a singular industry, and that is, to me, an insult. I like to think that I deal fairly. The only issues that have come to me have been marijuana related. I haven't had a chance to work on anything else of other import. But to insinuate that one industry controls the planning commission, members of staff, and the township board is simply asinine. And I want to denounce it in the strongest possible terms. Does anyone else have anything else that they would like to discuss this evening? Okay. There are no recommendations to make to the township board this evening. Just that we need to get these marked up and back to me so I can get those to Jeff, and then I can get you guys a second draft of the minutes. We will look forward for tentatively, unless we have a special meeting at any point, which so far we are not scheduled for one. The April meeting will be when we will look to enact the new bylaws. That'll give you the month of March to go over the second draft. I'll have all that, and then we can say, all right, here it is. Do we like it? And then we'll vote on it. Hopefully we can have all 5 of us here in April. So with that, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Hopkins, supported by Robertson, to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. 4-0 to adjourn at 8:35 p.m. Thank you very much, and happy Fat Tuesday to all who celebrate. The human body can only accept 6.5 punchki, I found out today.
Uh-oh, what did you
And-
do after that?
And happy Valentine's Day to all who celebrate as well.
What is that?
Are you gonna do those tonight?
It's not very strong.